Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! This is not my story, it's my mom's. Okay, so my mom works at a petrol station in a small town. Recently, she got a promotion to the position of shift manager, and now while most of the customers are the locals who tend to be friendly, the store gets some right twats in. Anyway, this guy Kevin comes in driving a large van and pays £10 for petrol. Now, due to the rise in fuel costs and the size of his vehicle, the fuel did not immediately register on his fuel gauge due to not flowing through his engine. At least I believe that's what happened. I'm not car savvy. So after paying and driving a few meters off a little, Kevin storms back in angrily and goes up to my mother behind the counter, bypassing several customers in the queue. "Your pump didn't work. I did not get any fuel." My mother asks him which pump he used, so she can check again how much he paid. "Okay, so you only paid £10. Given the size of your vehicle, it's likely that it hasn't gone through your engine completely to raise the fuel gauge." "No, I've had this van for several years, and £10 was always enough to raise it. Your pump must be broken." "Unfortunately, I've had 2 customers since you used that pump and it worked." This goes back and forth for a few minutes, with Kevin getting more and more aggressive as he simply fails to grasp the fact that he didn't put enough fuel in his van to immediately register without letting it flow through the engine. "That's it. Give me your manager." My mom gives him an "Are you serious?" look, as she's currently wearing a badge that says manager in bold letters. When it doesn't seem that Kevin takes notice, she finally says, I could get you my other manager." She's referring to another member of the staff with similar duties to her, as the store always trains several managers at once due to high turnaround. "Good." My mom disappeared for a few minutes and came back with her co-worker. Kevin had disappeared. Perhaps he had grown bored, or perhaps the several angry regulars that he had line cut had a word with him, but he drove off, proving he did in fact have fuel. Now, this had not actually been the store's first run-in with Kevin, and he had been aggressive that time too. The customers asked if my mom was alright and took statements, so my mom and her co-worker could take the evidence to HR. So that's the end? Ha, nope. About 30 minutes later, Kevin's wife comes into the store and goes to my mom's co-worker. "I want to make a complaint about your worker. She was rude to my husband and refused to help him get home, and refused to get him the manager." So she was complaining that the manager did not get the manager and help her husband drive home, after her husband drove home. Wow. Okay, due to what happened, Kevin and his wife are banned from the petrol station. Best part? It's the only petrol station for about 20 miles in any direction, as we live in the middle of rural England. A little bit of backstory for this. I was 15 years old and very short, so I looked like I was 12 or 13. 15 is a legal age for people to work here as long as a parent lets them work there. I normally ran the cash register, and my manager was somewhat trusting in me to make sure all of the money was safe. This will be important later. The store has 4 cameras and 3 TVs, 1 towards the doorway, 1 being the counter, and 1 in a staff-only room. This will also be important. So on a calm day, we have a customer come in. She came in with 2 shy-looking kids. I had not recognized her, so I thought she was new. We have a pretty small town, so I knew most of our customers. This lady went up and down the aisles. At the time, one of my friends was in the store, and he came up to me and said this was the lady he was talking about. He said that she was going to be a pain to me as she had to another co-worker a few days back. I said that he shouldn't worry about it. So after about 20 minutes, she came up to the counter and she starts giving me her items. So far, so good, I thought to myself. She wasn't paying attention to me at the time, then she looked up. Here is all of the cast. Me, the crazy lady, the manager, my friend, and the two shy kids. And here is how it went. What are you doing behind the counter, young man? I work here, ma'am. Where are your parents? My friend tells her, ma'am, he works here. He's 15 and is allowed to work here. You are both trying to get free stuff and steal the money they earn, right? I tell her, can you please give me the rest of your groceries so you can leave, and we can move on with our day? One of her kids tells her, Mom, come on, we need to get to the party. Shut up, kid. You don't know what's going on here. I am just sitting there watching as she screams. My friend tells her, Ma'am, can you hurry up? I want to buy some donuts. You mean steal some donuts? My friend, whose father and mother were cops, was taken aback. Ma'am, I'm not trying to be mean, but now you are trying to make me dishonored toward my family's history. Get this filthy friend of yours out of here, before I get an actual employee and get you arrested. The other kid tells her, Mom, come on, you do this everywhere to some kid in the neighborhood. It's embarrassing and you still haven't learned your lesson. Her other kid looked about 14, around the age of where I started thinking about getting a job here. She says, I will show you both how right I am and how you should both let Mom take care of this business. I tell her, Ma'am, I'm trying to be nice here, and that's it. I'm getting an employee. The crazy lady starts hollering for someone else. A co-worker peeks in, but I wave him off. Is he part of your plan too? She says, gawking. No, Mom. A voice yells out and we both look at the kids. They turn red and start saying sorry. Then the crazy lady comes over to the counter and onto the workspace. She grabs me by my collar and starts screaming profanities at me. I'm scared and panicking because I have no clue what to do. Then the manager comes out, and the crazy lady seems relieved. You wouldn't believe what this dumb kid was doing, she said, smirking. I stopped him before he could drop you and take everything he could. The manager tells her, Lady, why were you behind the counter? And also don't lie as I saw you on the camera. She looked dumbfounded. You were out here? Yes, and I saw you assault one of my employees. I think that she was starting to put two and two together, then she pulled out her ultimate weapon. She said as if I was going to be fired. Just because he was an employee, that doesn't mean he wouldn't take anything. It's not like you have a camera pointed over here and you can see him. Now, I was working with this manager for around 6 months, so he knew that I hadn't been stealing money. This is why he trusted me with a register. He tells her he wouldn't steal a single cent, as he's too paranoid about what would happen. But if he was just using it as a disguise, then he's pretty good at acting and should be on stage instead of here. I heard that the band doesn't care about your age as long as the person playing the instrument is good at it. Just then, the authorities arrived. What is all of this for? She said nervously. The manager tells her, well, let's see here. Assault of employees, trespassing, shoplifting. She put a candy bar in her back pocket. And I think that's it. Well, nothing too big at least, right? Yeah, my manager was able to crack jokes in any situation. She was arrested and the kids are in foster care until a few months when the dad gets out of jail. The crazy lady was sentenced to 3 years in prison and 7 years of community service. I do feel bad for the kids as they seem not to be evil like their mother was. This happened 10 years ago and some families said I should post it at this point. This story happened about 10-ish years ago. Backstory. When I was in high school and still living at home, we were required to do community service in order to graduate. Those who did more than the minimum 10 hours were granted a recommendation from the high school to any college they applied to on their application into university, where they would recommend as a contributor to society. I have been working on my own lawn care business, better phrased as a community service, since I was in the 9th grade. As it came to my 12th grade year, senior year in high school, all of my neighbors were having their yard mowed and trimmed by me. Come my final year of primary school before university, I was still mowing the lawns of my neighbors free of charge, but I had also become alternate captain of my primary school's hockey team. Come my final year before university, I was still taking care of yards for my neighbors. Most of them were old enough that they couldn't take care of them without help. Of course, there was always one person who always had extra things for me to do, regardless of what I had to get done after their yard. Theirs was normally the last one since it was the closest to my home at the time. Let's call her Karen. Initially, it was just small things, like moving their yard furniture so I could mow their whole yard without missing anything. Then, the day I was sick of everything. I had mowed 5 yards in 95 Fahrenheit, 35 Celsius, after I had completed an hour conditioning session for hockey and an additional conditioning session for lacrosse. Honestly, I was in a bad mood. I had gotten through all of the yards without a hitch because the people I was mowing for knew it was essentially for free. Then it was Karen's turn. I was already going to be late for practice and I knew it. As I started wheeling my mower out of her yard, I heard, "Where do you think you're going?" I was a little stunned because I wasn't used to people just randomly running out and yelling at me. And at this point, I had completed mowing and was about to put the spray jug of Roundup away since I was done spraying all the weed in their yard. I responded with, "I'm done, I'm going home." Karen tells me, "You're leaving without completing my yard? There's a lot of green that I'm not approving. I won't sign off until all the green in the yard has been hit." Cue malicious compliance. I looked at her and said, "You want me to hit everything that is green before I leave?" "I want you to hit anything green before you leave." I think some of you can already see where this is going. As a high schooler who was told to spray anything green, I started spraying everything green. The next day after school, my dad called me into a room. When I walked in, Karen was there scowling. "You killed all of my yard. You told me to round up everything green in your yard." "Is that actually what you told him?" "Absolutely not." "Okay, what did you say?" "I told him to." She gets really quiet. She starts to bring up that the yard wasn't as short as she wanted and then walks away. Dad asks her, "What did you tell him to do?" "I told him to hit anything green in the yard." I haven't seen such a big crab-eating grin on my dad's face since. He says, "You didn't," and I tell him, "I did." I ended up spraying Roundup on Karen's entire yard, anything green. Any flower with a green stem, Roundup, her prized orchids, Roundup, and all that. Since I was already going to be late, I didn't just reach the recommended level of concentration, it was twice as strong as it should have been. The fallout. Since I had a whole neighborhood of people who would say I did an amazing job taking care of their yard, when Karen called the cops to report me for property damage, she got a warning for falsifying police reports, as well as a scolding by the cops to not tell someone to do something if they don't want it to be executed to the letter. I have since moved back into the same neighborhood as I grew up in and see Karen around. She glares at me every time I see her. Her yard has not recovered. I don't know if it fits this up perfectly, as I was working at the hospital but not for the hospital, and not at the ward where it took place. This happened back in 2009 when I was fresh out of the German equivalent to high school. As was still custom back then, I was conscripted. But since I already knew that my professional future lies in the medical field, I decided to serve my country not in the military, but with community service. As that usually means that you get to work in a hospital, in a nursing home or similar institutions. But, and that is crucial here, I did not work for the hospital but just at the hospital, as I was technically serving the Federal Republic of Germany. As I was hoping, I got to work at an intensive care unit at the University Hospital in Berlin. It was a great year and very likely the biggest reason for me to go to nursing school afterwards. Anyways, back to the story. My tasks were to help the nurses fetch things for the doctors, fill up the cabinets in the patient rooms, and stuff like that. Often that meant that I was going through the hospital, and anyone who has been to Berlin has most likely seen the big building close to Berlin Central Station. That was the one I was walking through. And while walking through, it meant that I was getting a good feeling for where the different wards and centers lie. It didn't mean that I knew every little detail though. One day, when I was on my way back from the blood bank where I had to get some fresh frozen plasma for a critically ill patient, I saw an elderly lady standing a little helpless in front of some elevators. She asked me if I could point her towards a specific ward, and while being in a rush, I just did it because I knew where it was. In fact, right around the corner. Right after pointing her towards her goal, a man in his 50s, I guess, asked me where his son was. He told me his name and said that he would like to know his location. I said that I can't help him with that. I'm just a civvy. The information is right by the main entrance. He insisted that I should help him. I said that I can't. I have stuff to deliver, and besides I don't work at the wards here. I'm just a civvy and I'm doing deliveries for one of the ICUs. At that point, he actually grabbed my arm and told me that he wouldn't let go of me unless I help him out. I tried to explain to him that I don't know who his son is and also don't know where, since there are several wards with over 1,000 beds in this hospital. So I can't possibly know every single one of the patients being there. I can't remember exactly what else was said. But I got my arm free, told him to get lost, not professional, but I was 19 and didn't get paid enough for stuff like this, and walked quite fast towards my ward. I thought that was the end of it. But he followed me, and not just toward the ICU, but into it. Normally, visitors would have to ring a bell and wait in the waiting room. He just stormed into it right after me, yelling profanities. That obviously caught the attention of the staff, which ended in the staff nurse, some other nurses and some doctors coming to see what was going on. They asked him to leave, but he insisted that he should get help to find his son, and that I should be disciplined for my unprofessional behavior. The staff nurse explained to him that the information is right by the main entrance and that she won't discipline me because I was doing an important delivery of blood products and it wasn't my responsibility to show visitors around in the hospital, as I worked on the ICU and not for the information desk. That was when he settled for the wish to file a complaint about me at the hospital, to which my staff nurse just sighed and said that if he wants to file a complaint about me, then he would have to address that complaint to the Federal Office for Civil Services, since she isn't employing me, but I'm serving my community service. Also, if he doesn't leave right now, she would call security and he wouldn't be seeing his son, because she would take care that he would be forbidden to enter the hospital afterwards. That was when he finally realized that the information right by the main entrance would be the easier alternative to harassing me. Thank you for watching and see you next time.